really leading me on in a path, but they were not very good at running the business. And that unfortunately impacted me as well. So, it's one of those things where I think the mentors that you pick, are really going to be the ones that are going to help you either succeed or create a barrier between you and success. Hey everybody, Steve Hamoon here, Triple M Nation. This is the inaugural episode for the Money, the Mindset, the Mentoring podcast. I'm so excited to hit this as our very first. Actually, this is not our first episode. We've had 3 episodes prior. We thought we'd come back and set up our first episode, show you that we're not perfect. And you know why? Because you're not perfect either, and that's okay too. We all are going to be building together. Want to introduce myself. I'm Steve Hamoon. I'm your host. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is having a growth mindset, being able to see adversity, be able to overcome adversity, and be indomitable in anything that we do. Look, we're going to run into situations that are going to disrupt our life. We're going to run into situations where our goals are going to be at jeopardy. And, one of the things we have to do is look internal and say success is our duty, our responsibility, and our obligation. It is our job to own our results. And the more accountability we can put on ourselves, I think the better off we can be in the way that we go forward in our future. And so our goal here on this show is to bring people who've gone through really tough situations and found a way through them. Now, that could be people who are business owners. That could be people who are, have been 15 years, 20 years married, maybe remarried and figured out how to get it right the second time. Maybe it's people who are fighters. I love the mixed martial arts environment. I love jiu-jitsu. And I love the, being able to overcome in that space and bringing people on from there. There's nothing that can build a good, strong mindset than if somebody's trying to punch you in the face. So I think, that's something that's really critical. And so when we look at the podcast here, we're really trying to bring that to an audience of people who are saying, I need some help with wherever I'm at, whether you're in a situation of, I just need some direction. You're in that infancy of trying to figure out what you want to do to try to get to where you want to go, to develop your goals. Whether you're in a situation of your goals are actually developed and you're running into roadblocks. Or maybe you're getting past the roadblocks and you're looking just to expand your mindset in each of those different situations, whether it's in finance, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in health or wellness. These are the things we want to make sure that we cover. Those are all the things that we hit when we start talking about our mindset, right? When we talk about money, money is a currency. And I use money because it's the most tangible way to say that you have a measurement. But a currency or a commission that you get on whatever you're doing is not necessarily in the form of money. Sometimes you can have a currency that comes in the form of love, or currency that comes in the form of health, or currency that comes in the form of some other mechanism of measurement. Currency is just is a medium of exchange, and that's what money is. So what we want to do is, as we go through, is look to say, what is the measurement of the exchange that happened when those actions were taken? Then I want to look at the mentorships. Mentors are extremely important. I've had the absolute joy. Just actually last week, I went down to my old rugby club, just driving through the parking lot, getting the sort of the drive of memories. And who should I happen to run into was my first coach from when I was 13 years old. And I'm 48 at the time of this recording. And it was great just to bump into him again and just have a chat and just, know that we can still, keep that conversation going. And man, I hope he knows the changes that he's made in people's lives, by the way that he's been able to develop people and the kids into strong, grown adults through the hard-earned lessons that you get from playing rugby. And so, mentors are something that are extremely important. One of my, mentors right now is a fellow by the name of Grant Cardone. Yeah, I'm going to probably throw in quite a few jiu-jitsu references and probably quite a few Grant Cardone references and a bunch of other people. And, just because I think it's really important to give honor to the people who've shared information with you so that you can honor the source that it came from. So know that there's always sources that where the information comes. Many times we think that we're inventing something, but really we're not inventing it. It came from somebody else. And let's give honor to that. And so our episode structure, what we're really looking at doing is every week we want to release out a new podcast that covers, either an interview or some sort of personal insight, a market analysis, or sometimes we're just going to bring on guests just to shoot the breeze and just to see where things go. The main thing is as we start that podcast, we're going to let you know, is this going to be a podcast that's just going to be a rough flow and just, a gentle conversation, or is it going to be something that has tangible key takeaways? If we say it's going to have tangible key takeaways, our whole goal is that at the end of that episode, whatever the topic is that we're covering, is that we're able to give you something that you can walk away with that you can actually do. And I think that's really important because so many times you can have conversations, but it doesn't turn into actual practice. I've gone to so many training seminars, and you take that book, you put it up on the shelf, and you never use it. Really important that if we're going to go through something, that we're really providing value, that you can do some takeaways, because, as I said, we've all run into obstacles. Myself personally, I mean, I've been self-employed since 2005. I've run businesses that have grown up to, medium-sized businesses, certainly not to the level of people like, one of my mentors, Grant Cardone, but, in that middle ground. And I think what's great in having a conversation or listening to somebody who's going through the middle ground is the same thing that, when you're in, say, jujitsu, and you're going and you're working with somebody who's in that middle ground of growth too. They're not to that point of, where their mind is so big and they know so much that they're detached from what it is like to be at the very beginning. Now, when we talk about Grant Cardone, for sure he did Undercover Billionaire and went, I'm going to go back to the beginning and see what it's really like. And he went to a small town and decided to start off, in a situation where he had $100 and nothing behind him, and was able to create some tremendous wealth in a very short period of time, because they could take away all of his money. They could take away his brand, but they couldn't take away the things that were in his head. But he had a billionaire mindset. The one thing that he didn't have when he went into that is he didn't have a millionaire or $100,000 mindset. And so he did have a little bit of an advantage going, because he didn't have the name of Grant Cardone, he certainly had the brain of Grant Cardone, and it definitely showed in some of those episodes. And some of the things that I really want to look through is through these episodes is give you a lens on what it is to be that person who's gone from 0 to 100,000, or to be that person who's gone from, I'm in my first marriage, I'm getting to my second one, or the person who I'm just getting into, getting back into shape. There's some people that we have in the roster to interview who've, lost 40, 50 pounds in a period of time, and then put it back on again, and then lost it again. And what does that take to do that? And so real life examples, these are things that I think are really important, because too many times I think we can look on the lens of Instagram, we can look on the lens of YouTube or any of these social media platforms, and not really see true people. And I think it's really important. I mean, I look at myself like, back in 2005, I started a business. It grew fairly nicely, up until about 2012. We had, a bunch of employees, it was growing great. And then all of a sudden, 2012, 2014 hit, and those years crucified us. We had, a bunch of clients not pay us. We had a really difficult time. I had a young family at the time. We have, my first son, born, my second son, just out the door. And so it was a difficult time. We were probably at that time, at least $750,000 in the hole. We burned through all of our savings, and we had to make some decisions, and they were tough decisions to make at that time. And by going through those tough decisions and being able to secure small win after small win after small, they were not big wins. They were wins that were hard earned for sure. But I have to say, I had people around me at that time. I was very fortunate to have people around me. I will always give thanks and credit to, one of my early mentors. Her name was Michelle Mason, and she did a wonderful job of helping me pivot out of the darkness of where I was and get into something that, truly was successful. At that point, it was real estate that got me into the next path. And it wasn't necessarily investing in real estate. I wasn't ready at that point. But what it was is to transact in real estate and really, create some impact in people's lives and then as a result, create an impact in mine. And she did such a wonderful job. So that's where I looked at it and went, mentors are extremely important. If I didn't have her as a mentor, I don't think I would have been able to get out of that successfully, because I had a bad mentor prior to that. And I had somebody who was very technical, really leading me on in a path, but they were not very good at running the business. And that unfortunately impacted me as well. So, it's one of those things where I think the mentors that you pick, are really going to be the ones that are going to help you either succeed or create a barrier between you and success. And at that point, Michelle was the person who really brought me from a very difficult position to where I am today. And so, from 2012 to today, real estate was one of those things that I think is such an amazing asset. It's such an amazing impact. It's a funny one too, because real estate is really a glorified piece of paper saying that you have interest in a property. But there's so much emotion tied to it. When people get into buying houses and people get into, owning their first home, getting in there where they set up for their family and, they set up the crib in that second room. And, there's so much emotion tied to the homestead and the dichotomy of it being an asset, but also being something so personal. When you talk about the physicality of somebody's location, it's something that's extremely interesting to me. Then you put that together with the idea of owning real estate for the purposes of wealth creation, whether that be your principal asset. I know in Canada, we still have tax advantage in owning real estate, as our principal residence. But also owning, real estate for the purposes of other people's principal residences and the joy that can come with that. When you're creating spaces for people and they're great spaces that they can live in and they can grow their families or start their families or start their entry into Canada. These are things that are such an amazing thing that when you look at real estate, and real estate has been nothing but an amazing journey for us, for both me and my wife and our family. It's been something that I would highly suggest that if you're interested at all in real estate, find somebody that you can identify with, make sure that they have the same mindset as you, and then really set a long-term plan to grow together with that person, with those key mentors for you. Personally, we then pivoted and also started a mortgage business. One of the things that's great about, building a business is you build a team of people around you. And, my first business, I can still call everybody who worked with me in my prior business. I can call them all friends and have them over for dinner at a moment's notice. Frank, we're going to go for sushi sometime, when you listen to this. That to me is something that's really critical, is that, the people that you build, because it's blood, sweat, and tears. Like there was a friend of mine in rugby, he had a tattoo that said, for those who bleed with me, I shall call you brother. And I think that's something that in business, while it's a metaphysical bleed that happens, it is definitely something that is taxing. I mean, just because it's not a physical thing, it doesn't mean that it can't be painful. And so, that's the greatest thing about building a business, is building those people around you and building all those relationships. With the mortgage business, we've met absolutely wonderful people who've developed amazing careers in this space, and watching them develop from where they started to where they are today to where they are going to go in the future. That's one of the most beautiful things about running a business, is the impact in the lives of people around you that you can do, and then what they do back to you in return. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's been really helpful. And then moving on into the business coaching stuff that's aligned with everything else that we're doing, sharing the messages of, some of the successes through the different coaching tools that we have from other key mentors that we have. It's been a beautiful journey, not only impacting our business, but impacting the businesses of people around us. And so that's really the journey for me. One of the things that we're looking always is to bring value to whatever relationship that we have. Whether I'm teaching jujitsu at 5:30 in the morning, whether we're speaking to a group of entrepreneurs and, helping them hone on a marketing strategy or a sales tactic, or whether we're talking to people about, health and mindset and winning and overcoming obstacles. These are the things that I think are so critically valuable. And I really wanted to dial into people who maybe don't have haven't been approached to get their message out, but have such a really good message to bring. Those are the people that I definitely want to bring to this podcast and make sure that they get their message to you and that they are heard. And then I want to hear back from you guys. I want you guys to give me feedback and say, Steve, I love this. And these are the things that we really want to develop, because if we can give you more of what you're looking for, and really give you good, strong takeaways, so that at the end of the episode, you're like, man, you've really made an impact in my life. These are the things that I think, bring me such joy to doing this. This is a project of passion, and I really want to share my passion with you guys. So without further ado, we're going to get on to getting ready for our next podcast. Our next podcast, we're going to get a little bit of light and playful. We're going to start talking a little bit about a one-on-one, talking about just a simple thing of why am I doing this podcast from the perspective of marketing. And so my hopes is that in sharing that and being, open and opening up the curtains behind the scenes as to why I think podcasting is extremely important, getting messaging out is there. And so let's get ready for episode number 2, which will be our podcast on marketing.